Hey there everybody, it's Mark Curley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Before we get into it, I want to make a little announcement to any of you who live in or near Norway. I am going to be a guest at the Raptus Comics Festival in Norway about 2 weeks from today. It's going to be September 9th through 11th. I'm going to put a link to the official comic convention website where you can get further information. But what I've decided to do today as a how to draw video is how to draw a Norwegian Chibi. And let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get into some quick little guidelines to get us started. All right, so you see I've put in a sort of very curved section here for the top of the head, and it kind of straightens out a little bit and flattens at the bottom. That's my kind of go-to shape of the head for a chibi character. And here notice that the upper part of the torso, quite narrow, not anywhere near as wide as like the top of the head. And as you can see, this is turning into a dress here because my concept with this video, and maybe it can become a series of videos, is to show what does a chibi look like when it's wearing the traditional national dress of various countries. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but let's go ahead and add some of the facial features. Okay, so you can see that the eyes are quite low on the face, and the entire area of the facial features is well under the halfway point, kind of heading towards just 1/3 of the space from the top to the bottom. And this head is going to be turned just a little bit into a 3/4 point of view, and that's why one of the eyes is a little smaller. The nose is over here very close to that eye. And notice how low the ears are on the head as well. That's just a stylistic preference of mine. You could put them higher up if you so desire. And I just dropped in the neck there to connect to the body. I think it's time now, though, to draw the basic pose of the two arms. And one of the two arms is going to be holding a Norwegian flag. So I might just go ahead and draw that while we're at it. And so here you see the basic guidelines for the two arms. Notice that this one extends maybe a little past the halfway point of where the sort of triangle of the dress is. And then over here, I just chose my own sort of angle here, to have the flag flying off at. You could really adjust this any way you like according to your own preferences. And for now, just keeping the shapes of the hands very simple. We'll get into the detailed line work in just a moment. And actually, there's only one tiny little thing left to do, and that is to add her feet. So let's take care of that right now. All right, so here you see the legs poking out underneath the dress. I made one just a little higher up than the other as a way of providing visual interest. And of course, you see the main advantage of putting a chibi in a puffy dress is you don't have to draw the legs. Isn't that awesome? So let's go ahead and knock it off with all this time lapse and get into some real-time drawing. I think what I'll do is zoom in on the area of the head so that you can see the details. All right, so let's get into the details of the face. I'm going to begin with the eyebrows. Of course, the real fun of this video is going to be when we get into drawing the details of the dress, because that's when we get into drawing a particular sort of national costume, which I don't think I've ever done in a video before. Except I guess I have done sort of like kimono. Maybe that might be one of the ones that I've done. In any case, I'm adding a dark line here for the upper eyelash on each one of these eyes, adding just a little circle here that's going to be the highlight. You could choose to flatten the bottom of each one of these eyes if you want. That sort of makes it look like they're smiling a little more. The truth is, most of these details of the face are not going to go too far in the area of detail because chibi, the whole thing about chibi is to keep it simple. But I like to add a few lines onto the ears just to give a little more structure there. And of course, with the hair, I always encourage people to come up with any hairstyle they like. My main thing is to try to avoid covering up any of the details of the face. Certainly don't want the hair to get in the way of the eyes. Now, sometimes when I draw a chibi character with like a skull shape like this, I will have the hair extend above that. But what I did to begin with is make this skull sort of extra large. Skull sounds kind of creepy to call it the scalp. Maybe I should be saying instead. Anyway, I'm going to use this as the contour line of the hair and as the top of the head, all as a single shape, and then come in here and begin adding some lines for the hairstyle. Again, you should feel free. You know, I was toying around with the idea of doing braids, actually. I thought that might have a kind of cute, old-fashioned European look to it. But for whatever reason, I decided to take it easy on myself, because drawing braids is rather time-consuming, let's face it. In any case, this gives you the basic shape of the hair as we begin to head down towards drawing the neck and the rest of the dress. Now, this is where, after I draw just a little strand of hair, I always like to have these two little strands framing the face. After we're done with all this, I want to refocus the camera so that we can get into the details of this traditional Norwegian dress. Alright, now for this part of the video, I'm very much indebted to a young woman from Norway by the name of Ingvild Christiansen, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is a very talented cartoonist in her own right. She goes by the name Keflinger, and you can find her on Instagram. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description of this video, but I'll just show you quickly some of her artwork. I've zoomed in so closely, it's a little hard for you to see, but she is quite talented, and look at that, isn't that beautiful? And who knows, maybe she'll be at the convention 2 weeks from now, and I can say hi and thank her for helping me out with this video, because she showed me or taught me that there's a different dress, a different type of Norwegian dress for each region. And she said, hey, you know, what you could do is show people how to draw the Bergen version of the dress, which is called, well, the dress itself is called a bunad. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And each region, apparently, in Norway has its own style of bunad. But what I noticed in the photos that I looked at for this Bergen version was there's a white high-collared shirt that's underneath the dress itself. And as it comes down, it comes straight down from that area where the neck is, curves just a little, and then in most of the photos I saw is open a bit as you come down here towards the area where the belt is going to be. I might go ahead and just draw a couple of lines here for where the belt will be. And then there seems to be a series of 3 on each side of these little buttons that are laced together with, it looks like some sort of metal chain, you know, very delicate metal chain. And then there's 2 of like the ends of that come down, and as I saw in a number of the photos, actually goes behind the belt, which I thought was interesting. For whatever reason, I would have thought those would come outside of it, but there's 2, you know, 1 for each side of each end of the chain. And then it seems to me that the belt itself can have a variety of different decorations. You can see there's not a whole lot of space here, so I'm just going to throw in a few circles there. But I noticed in some of them that there was this, looked like a purse that could be attached to the belt, a traditional purse that sort of looks like a bag or sort of a sack almost. It's connected, hangs down from the belt. It has like a silver upper edge to it, and then this down here is just the cloth part. So I'm going to go ahead and indicate that. I haven't used the word indicate in a while, have I? And then down here at the bottom of the dress, again, each region is going to have its own style, but there seem to be this slightly L-shaped area of a floral design. And I'm going to just begin by putting in these L shapes. I think we could see maybe 3 of them in the front of the dress, though of course they would go all the way around. And this is maybe going to be left to the coloring part of the video, but these L shapes actually are going to be turned into flowers, what looks sort of like wildflowers of variety of colors. And I think one of the things that makes this version of the bunad distinctive is that the base color is black, and I'm going to hold off and do that last when we get into the coloring section. And then on either side of the top is a sort of continuation of this floral design. I'm just sort of roughly patching something in there. And then the bag itself, this traditional purse, also is going to have some of the floral design work on it. And we're getting close to being done with this stuff. I noticed that at least on one of the photos, the cuffs extended past the edge of where you'd expect a tight-fitting cuff to be. And so I'm going to do that on both of these, have that sort of extend past there. And as I said, this is one of those sort of traditional, I don't know if it's 18th century, maybe 19th century puffy sleeves. And so I'm going to put in just a little bit of wrinkles here at the elbow and maybe make this one just a little puffier before it reaches the area of the cuff. And that is maybe the basics of the detail work that we need to add here. I guess I should shift down just to show how I'm going to draw the shoes. Give me a moment. And I suppose there may be traditional Norwegian shoes that go with a dress like this, but at least in one of the photos I saw this style that had a kind of a square buckle on it. Not so clear on whether that's something that is part of the costume or if it's left to the individual's choice. And then the only last thing we have to do is to draw the Norwegian flag. I'm going to do that in time-lapse and maybe say a word or two about that before we get into the coloring. All right, so there you see the Norwegian flag, and as I look at it, I guess I'm noticing that this blue sort of sideways cross ought to be a little thicker than the white stripes that surround it. So I'm going to have to thicken that up just a little bit before we get into the coloring. I am going to do all of the coloring in time-lapse just to save a little time, but maybe I can come back after I've finished and talk a little bit about the various choices that I made. As I said, the dress itself, the base of the dress is black. I'm going to hold off and do that at the end, which allows me to be a little loose with my coloring of the flower patterns and stuff like that, knowing that I can tighten it up at the end, as I said, with the black. I might even just use a black marker, which makes it easy to have control over that. Oh, one thing I didn't get to was drawing the hands. Let's go ahead and show, with Chibi characters' hands, you don't have to do too much in the area of detail, but you probably would want a thumb to be visible there to suggest that she's gripping the flag with that one hand. And then over here, I hope you can see this. Bear with me. I'm going to sort of shift the camera a little bit on the fly. I'm going to sort of erase this away just a touch and then do one of my standard, hopefully graceful looking feminine hands with the pointer finger here and then all the rest of the fingers sort of lightly indicated behind it. And now it is time to do some coloring. So as I said, this will all be in time-lapse, but I'll be back with a few words of advice at the end of that process. Okay, so we've got the coloring done. You can see how holding off on the black until the end is pretty helpful in case you don't have opaque colors, right? If I made this black and then tried to put yellow paint on top of that, it could be a real struggle. Anyway, that's my approach. But this can't be done until I add my beloved white gouache, and I thought I'd add just a few highlights to the hair in real time while I talk about some of the other aspects of coloring this illustration. And one thing that became a challenge is that this purse, is black against black. And so I sort of resorted to the age-old trick of a white line that surrounds it. I also switched from ink to watercolor, hoping that would give a slightly different shade of black. I don't know if I completely was able to pull that one off, but hopefully that was a way of keeping that bag, that little purse, visible against the black background. And that is basically it for this, though of course without blushies it can't be truly complete. Norwegian blushies, I should say. Are Norwegian blushies different from other blushies? Let me know in the comments section. I've got a nice little pink colored pencil here. Just for that very purpose, give her those little aptly-cheeked blushies in Norway. And as I said, I will be in Norway in just about 2 weeks. So excited. Hope to see some of you there at the Raptus Comics Festival. Now hold on, I'm going to go ahead and grab my books so that I can thank everyone who has supported me by getting them, like the two-pencil method, which actually contains a drawing that I did of Bergen, Norway. Who knows, maybe I can do another one in a couple of weeks. There's the comic book lesson, my very latest book, a graphic novel that teaches you how to make comics. And, of course, Mastering Manga 1, 2, and 3, plus the Chibi book, all of which give you hints on drawing Chibi drawings like you saw in today's video. But I think it's time for me to lay down this blushy pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back with another one real soon.